Hello, my name is Annie Zambito, and I'm going to talk about Gazetteers today. This is a reference overview. It's part of our LIS 6120 group project. So the first question you might ask, as I did, is what is a gazetteer? And to put it simply, it's just a list of place names and usually found in the back of a source like an atlas. And it may include page numbers or coordinates to help find the location on a map within a source. So if you've ever looked in the back of an atlas to find what page your location is found within the source, then you've used the most basic of gazetteers. Another definition, it's a list of geographical names or physical features, often providing critical data on an area and historical information. And finally, from the introduction of the Columbia Gazetteer of the World, which I will talk more about later, the definition of the term gazetteer, when used in a geographical sense, is a geographical index or dictionary. A little bit more about the question, what is a gazetteer? They usually have the following elements: the place name, the country or area within which the place is located, geographical description codes, commonly known as feature types. Features are a huge part of gazetteers. It's a type of coding for the kind of the place. And also they've got spatial reference, which we know as coordinates of latitude and longitude. It's a single point defined by the intersection of a single line of latitude and a single line of longitude. And it also, a gazetteer may also have references to or from other names for the same place. This is one of the features that makes gazetteers really helpful. So where might you find a gazetteer? Commonly, they're at the end of an atlas, but they can also be extremely valuable reference resources in their own right. Print versions can be found in academic libraries and in most middle and larger sized public libraries. And if you'd like the most current, accurate place information, I suggest you turn to online gazetteers because they've got the most up-to-date information on location. So why are gazetteers so important? As I mentioned before, gazetteers can be really helpful when there is more than one name for a specific location, and similarly when more than one location share the same name. I'd like to talk a little bit about place versus space. These are two different things that people can easily get confused, and they're important concepts when we discuss gazetteers. First of all, place is culturally defined. And as language changes over time, so do place names. And for example, imagine a student were doing a search for the USSR. So if they went to a recent atlas, they are not going to find the USSR because it no longer exists. Space, however, is the name for a specific unchanging point. It's a scientific term. And for example, space can be exemplified as the intersection of lines of latitude and longitude on a map. The name for that specific location can change, but those coordinates do not change. It's still the same space. And I have a few quotes that help distinguish place versus space. Places can be defined in terms of the space they occupy. In an important reference genre, the place names gazetteer records these relationships, linking places with spaces. So here we have where gazetteers fit into this discussion. They link place with space. And in library parlance, gazetteers are place name authority files. It's almost like when you search by keyword in the catalog to find out what the subject headings are for a specific topic that you'd like to research on. Gazetteers similarly can show name variations and name changes, which can help. So now I'd like to talk about the types of questions that a gazetteer can answer. And I have a number of examples. One question, simple question, where is Mount Rushmore? Here's the location question. Another location question, where is the nearest national park? They can also answer more data-driven questions. What is the longest river in China? What is the altitude of the city of Denver? Where's the closest airport to the city I want to visit? That would be a travel type question. And they're becoming even more and more popular for genealogical research work. Here's a question. What are the names of the towns within 15 miles of Naples that had populations of less than 400 during World War II? This is a person who wants to locate the city where their parents met. Okay, now we're going to discuss some criteria for evaluating gazetteers. Special criteria to evaluate this reference resource includes the number of entries. Generally, more is better. For example, the Columbia Gazetteer of the World, one of the best resources that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, has more than 170,000 entries in it. It's a 3-volume work with a huge amount of entries. To compare it, Merriam-Webster's Geographical Dictionary, another popular resource, it has only 54,000 entries. So you can see just between the two how much more information you can get out of the Columbia Gazetteer of the World. Year of publication. In general, you usually want the most current resource. However, a lot of times users come with historical questions, and this is where older gazetteers can come in handy. So it's recommended that you not toss out old gazetteers when you purchase new ones, but keep them for those historical questions. Another means for evaluating gazetteers is to look at the scope of information about each place. So for example, on the U.S. Geological Survey's GNIS website, you can find details about each feature name, including type, population estimates, latitude and longitude, maps, names for the feature other than those that are federally recognized, and also links to sites offering map viewers. So a whole wealth of information just by searching one place name. Another important evaluation tool is to think about what search options you have for online gazetteers. You want to think about the author and the publisher reputation when you select a gazetteer to use. And finally, the cost-benefit analysis. For example, that Columbia Gazetteer of the World that I mentioned is about $595 print. Okay, now to discuss some of the best resources out there. The first one I'd like to talk about is a print resource. It's the Columbia Gazetteer of the World, and the most recent version was published in 2008. And a Library Journal review says that historically accurate, this title can be considered a reference standard. And here's why. It has more than 170,000 entries in 3 volumes. It's got entries for both the political and physical world. It has special places like malls, airports, theme parks, historical and archaeological sites, and mythic places. There's a pronunciation guide, and population has been updated with 2,000 census figures and beyond when available. And natural disasters are included, such as Hurricane Katrina. Also, there's an online version available for a subscription fee. And there is the website. Now I'm going to talk about some of the best online resources for domestic locations. The best source out there right now is the U.S. Geological Survey's Geographic Names Information Systems, also known as GNIS. There's the website. Some information about this source. It has information about physical and cultural geographic features in the United States and associated areas, both current and historical. It's got a federally recognized name of each feature and defines the location of the feature by state, country, USGS topographic map, and geographic coordinates. Other feature attributes include names or spellings other than the official name, feature designations, feature class, historical, and descriptive information. And it is our nation's official repository of domestic geographic feature names information. Another really great online gazetteer available for foreign names is the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency's GeoNet name server, also known as GNS. From their website, GNS has been in service since 1994. It contains over 5 million features and 8 million feature names. The database is updated weekly, so it is really current. And there are advanced search features available. You can search by conventional variant or native script name. You can sort by name, coordinate, or feature designation. You can search by map scale. You can search by feature. For example, you can search by populated places, administrative regions, transportation networks, vegetation, and many other different features. And you can also do a spatial search if you know the latitude and longitude coordinates of your location. So now to review, what makes Gazetteers so special? According to Bopp and Smith, they may be the most often used geographical reference source. They can be valuable in their ability to provide both current and historical information. And they can identify places with multiple names or different places that have the same name. And here's my example. The picture here shown is the lake view of my grandpa's cottage. We were out on the boat and I took this picture. And I've always wondered the official name for this lake. I've heard Little Crooked Lake, I've heard Crooked Lake, and so I typed it in to the GNIS website, and I found there were quite a few crooked lakes in Michigan, but only one in Brighton. And when I selected it, I found a number of documents, historical documents from the late 60s and early 70s, and what I was able to pull up was that prior to this time there had been one large crooked lake, and this documentation for name change that I found showed that Crooked Lake was drying up and it basically divided into two lakes, and the lake that my grandfather's place is on is technically called East Crooked Lake, which I had never heard before. And this is just an example of one way that a gazetteer can help you.